What was that? It's perfect. You want to be that guy?
Wow. 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 My camera is spazzing out with good morning. Hey, y'all. Oh, no. Not like this. Say it so. Say it so. I'm the Data Lord. This is Decentralized TV, and welcome to Crypto and Coffee, where we talk about crypto and drink about coffee. And so, cheers to you. Let's get this week, shall we? It's Monday. Hope everyone's feeling great. Go ahead and say what's up in the chat, and we'll get this party started. And look, sometimes you might feel alone, and then you look over and behind your shoulder, there's a Jaime. Good morning, Jaime.
It's a scary sight, brother. Dude, I don't know what the hell happened with that credentials, but we're good.
Oh, love. Monday, everything's got to be sideways. This is the rule. Dems the rules, baby. Dems the rules. So let's take a look at the markets, shall we? So if I go over here, whoop-ah! We have a very interesting week. This week's going to be freaking fire emojis and like, look. We've been calling this, like, I'm not surprised. I'm just excited, right? like, I'm not flat-footed here. It's just really cool. It's like, hey, look, a thing happened. It's like you're poking Bitcoin with a stick and finally he just, decides to run up a hill. So this is kind of what the markets look like right now. Bitcoin over the last 7 days up 28%. Congratulations, any hodlers out there. Ethereum's trying its hardest to try to be relevant like Bitcoin, but it's not able to get the same amount of momentum out. So we're seeing pretty much in the last 24 hours, everything else is kind of chilling out. Solana pumped for some reason. And other than that, Bitcoin's the star of the show, belle of the ball, as we all know. So, Jaime, tell us what is going on with Bitcoin and why.
So, guys, I wish we could replay all the videos we've been having. Good morning, Indo Crypto. It's a crazy Monday. The whys, we're gonna deep dive into it, but remember that 28,800? We are stopping there at this moment. We're at the 1 month view, and let me flip over to that one. Here we go. You can see, and this is the furthest back we're looking at. Why is that 1 month so important? It's because that's where Bitcoin bounced. If you recall, we've said it for a while now. This is where Bitcoin bounced on that bull run. It took a month to break through, and it bounced for about 3 months. Finally bounced once, and then finally broke through this. And these are the return of that scene of the crime where we broke down. Now we're holding at this very moment. We still have 11 days before the month closes. The big question is what will happen here, but let's zoom in on the closer range. So we're going to come into the weekly. On the weekly, there's that same monthly level that we're speaking of. And if I zoom out, you can see on the weekly side, we broke through and tapped it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7, 8, 9, and then on the 10th week. So it's like we spent a lot of time using this as support. Well, what a coincidence that on this run up, remember guys, we're looking at our advice, or my personal advice, just because I never want to be shanked, is never long at resistance. This broke resistance. It's up here at this moment on the weekly level. And we just reached that ceiling point that has been a very strong 10-week support. We finally tapped it this week, as resistance. So here's where the big question lies, is what is going to happen next? And let me flip over now to a lower time frame so we can see what the hell is going on here. We are now at the 3-day. I'm going to reduce it down to the 1 day because you can see a lot of more price action on the daily. So here's where we're at. We are at that resistance point right now as we speak. The markets are opening now. There were huge deals on the banks going on. This rally literally took off, guys. I missed it again. I'll never let go of that because it hurts, guys. It really hurts that I missed it by $59. But this would have been a beautiful long all the way through. And now we are reaching that ceiling point. Here's where a lot of decisions, in my case, I have to watch this and see what happens. If we break through, now I'm looking at it from a high time frame, not on the daily. The daily, man, if you don't wear a neck brace on the daily, you will snap your neck trading unless you know precisely what you're doing. But on the high time frames, this point is a critical point for Bitcoin, which is a resistance. Guys, do not fear if we do not break through this. Remember, it's been 10 freaking weeks or even months worth of support. It's to be expected that this is a thick wall to break through. Now keep in mind, we may wick through, but I don't know. I'm not too sure if we will close through. And not on the daily. I'm not speaking on the daily. Let me back it out now for clarity's sake. On the monthly is where I'm watching this. We may wick through. Shoot, if we reach up to the 21 moving average, let's say next month, and then closes above, it's a done deal. It means we are now at support and we should be now accumulating forward. But it all depends on what happens at this resistance where we're at now.
Mm-hmm.
At this moment, I am of course, in cash, waiting for these results. Now, as a Bitcoin investor, long-term investor, and hodler,
mm-hmm.
This is fantastic what we're seeing here, because what literally transpired during this downturn, banks started failing. Do you remember why Bitcoin was launched? Because banks started failing and they were rescued. They were too big to fail, and all the central banks were rescuing these failed banks. Satoshi Nakamoto literally grabbed the news headlines and posted it on the first block ever minted on why Bitcoin was created. Well, here it is. Last Monday, we were even quoting other hodlers saying, hey, Bitcoin was created for these bank failures. Why isn't it doing it? Man, before we could even finish the phrase, look at what transpired. It really, this is the show. It's a hedge against the financial system. There's a fantastic quote by Ron Paul.
Dr. Ron Paul.
Yes, Dr. Ron Paul, where he speaks of why this is not capitalism has not failed. Capitalism relies on a sound money system.
Yep.
But central banks are literally fiat, and they're based out of debt. So you put in $10, they can loan out a multiple of the true money inside the bank. So now when they start failing, the entire system starts showing cracks. And we'll go deep dive into it, but that's the principle of Bitcoin. Bitcoin does not inflate. There's only going to be $21 million 21 million Bitcoin ever. And it's the hardest asset currently that's portable and unconfiscatable. So these are exciting times from the Bitcoin experiment point of view. We even went above the trend line. So if I come back down to the daily, it looks beautiful how it tried to break through. It broke through. Now we're at that ceiling. And this one is a Dragonfly Doji, which is usually a bullish sign, but it has not closed. We have 10 hours before we close that. The big question is, do we top out here, or do we do one leg up on the monthly level? That's what we're watching now. Your current practice of dollar cost averaging and all that should never change. It's made for these moments where you're not wondering, man, should I enter? Should I not? Are we going to move now? No.
Mhm.
Stay calm. You hodl on, continue your DCA. In my case, I'm waiting for a pullback. Either after it breaks this resistance and tests as support, then I'll enter because it's confirmation, or it breaks through, comes right back down and continues down. Then I'm looking for the next levels down. But I will not enter at this very moment. It's too risky. And I'm of the, hey, take it easy, take a breather, don't get too excited. But take a look at this. We see price rising. Look at the inertia. It continues coming down. It took this rally up to this point. We're higher price, yet we're having it park be lower than this section here. So
Yep.
that's a bearish divergence, guys. It shows that there's a it's running out of energy to keep going, but overall the price action is beautiful because it is demonstrating to the black swan event, banks failing at this moment, which is Europe is right now having a shit show with trying to save the Credit Suisse and Swiss Bank, one rival buying the other, trying to support each other. And then here in the States, you have JP Morgan and so many others trying to go save other larger banks. But everybody else is doing this to the community banks and the smaller banks. So there is a meltdown, and Bitcoin was created for this. So this may be the black swan event where it decouples, or it may be the beginning of that. If we do have a financial meltdown, overall, everything may come down. But believe me, and even gold may come down. But the first to rise from the ashes as a phoenix, my belief would be between precious metals, gold, and Bitcoin.
Yep.
Bitcoin as an asset unconfiscatable, unlike gold that everyone was confiscated back in the 20s when we left the gold standard.
Yep.
So my bet, I'm betting on both, but I'm betting heavier on Bitcoin, guys.
By the way, how could that be constitutional? To deprive people of the right to property and just to take it all? That's
precisely.
That doesn't align with freedom principles. But yeah, Jaime, that was super, super good. So basically the takeaway is RSI has bearish divergence. So
yes,
basically the candles aren't the whole story. And so people who are afraid to get in right now, it's okay. Do your DCAs on Friday. Don't worry about the price. But then if you're trading, whatever pocket of money you're trading with, it's okay to wait for confirmation that we have an entry point.
There's always new entry points, guys. So don't fear. It's like, oh shit, I missed the bus. Well, imagine me for $59. I just missed this this percentage.
Everyone point and laugh at Jaime.
Yeah, but never chase. I've learned the hard way.
Yeah,
Don't
do it.
Chase a trade because you will lose. If this would have reversed too early, I would have been gone. But you have to make peace with those decisions. Now we just look for the next entry point, and I'm the one who's been burned enough where I look for a confirmation before entry. But guys, Bitcoin is doing what it was designed to do. It flourishes when banks go to shit. And why? Because banks deal with debt, credit, and fiat, versus Bitcoin is store of value. There was a lot of energy used to produce a Bitcoin, and it's still the same principle today. So magnificent engineered store of value. Let's go Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the soundness of Bitcoin. Let me just share with you with our first story here. Bitcoin is now running 24/7 for the last 10 years with zero downtime. And so when people ask like if Bitcoin's like stable or not, let me reassure you, as far as like a production system goes, you're not going to find a better production system. It's
by the way,
simple.
This is our systems architect. He is an architect, data lord. That is his career. So a feat like this is not to be taken lightly.
No, and the reason it works so well is because it is so truly decentralized. It's not just a distributed system; it is a decentralized system. We've talked about this a lot, but just in case you didn't get the memo, hey, did you get my memo? Just kidding. a decentralized system requires a distributed system. But what is a distributed system? It just means there's a bunch of computers all over the place, and they're all running the same software. And if one of them goes down or has an issue, the other ones can pick up the slack. And so, what makes it decentralized? Well, it means that multiple people own those machines. There's not one person who controls a majority. And so, you have a distribution of power and a distribution of infrastructure. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So Bitcoin's been crushing it, dude. The network has been working. It
And
just
guys,
doesn't go down.
please look at what this macro information means. It doesn't matter if what side of what political thing you're in,
Mhm.
Russians, Iranians, Americans, Chinese, Latin America, it doesn't matter. Bitcoin is everywhere. They're mining Bitcoin in Siberia, they're mining Bitcoin in Texas, they're mining Bitcoin in Argentina. It's
Mhm.
being mined. So this is mankind's store of value,
Right.
not a nation. They're trying to make it a nation. Oh, that's how they're avoiding sanctions. No,
Oh, we're crypto nation, but
absolutely, Gundy. Crypto nation.
Yo, so what's
Yep.
up? So give you shout outs real quick. Indo Crypto, faithful and true. I see you, brother.
Good
Stacking
morning.
Fiat, I believe Jaime is right with that pullback. Yeah, we'll certainly get to see either way. front,
We'll
front,
see.
front center.
Where it pulls back is the
Yo.
question.
Yeah, good morning,
Gundy,
Crypto Nation. What's up? What's
Crypto
up?
Nation. So we are Crypto Nation.
Yeah.
Every person who has worked with Bitcoin understands that this is humankind's answer to what the central banks have been pulling over our eyes ever
Yeah.
since 400 years ago with the Medicis, where it began. That's how they controlled. And if you study history, that's how they manipulated nations
Yep.
against nations. There are certain banks, and I'm not going to bring up any names. You guys do your own research, that profited from war because they sanctioned one and brought the other, but it was still the same bank that played the global politics. Well, now we're globalized. So now we're seeing those games. But here's the difference between Bitcoin and them. They are based on credit and debt. Bitcoin is based on store of value that was generated through energy. So energy
Yeah.
and math was input for this output to come out. So this is the way to
Eh,
go. Just Bossy just signed in. Good
Yeah. What's up?
morning.
What's up, girl? Good morning to you. My guess is your boy Boston's just behind. So preemptively, shout outs Boston.
Good morning.
Yeah. So I want everyone to uh also be equipped to whenever you're talking with your friends and family. Like I had a conversation this last weekend. One of my friends is talking to his brother, and Don's driving. What's up, boy? Uh,
Good
so
morning.
I was talking to one of my friends who had like a family event, talking with his brother, and his brother's like, "Why are you interested in that Bitcoin thing? It's like not backed by anything." And he wasn't really equipped to like explain why it was valuable. He knew it was, but he didn't really know how to explain it on the spot. So the way you can explain it is it's backed by security. Like, why is your money in Fort Knox valuable? Well, it's valuable because nobody's getting in that thing without proper authorization, right? And so, of course, gold is a valuable asset because people will accept it for, trade. And it can't easily be faked. There's a lot of ways with like electrical conductivity testing. We can verify it really is whatever value it says it is by weight and by conductivity, right? So, that's how we handle gold, but Bitcoin's very similar in the same way. Like it's valuable because you can't get in, you can't fake it. Bitcoin's it is valuable for that exact same reason. It has the highest computer security out of any network on the planet. You need to hear that. Okay. It's not faking it. It legitimately has it. You can look into SHA-256 if you want to understand how the
Mechanics.
cryptography functions. But
Mhm.
like I'm telling you, SHA-256 is solid, but not just that. The fact that it's a chain of SHA-256 means every single detail that was on the last input becomes a variable on the equation. And if even one single letter is changed, one single character is changed, the entire math is different. The output is
Mhm.
different. And I think it's worth me making a video, not on Crypto and Coffee, but just a video for DCTV as a reference, to show people how this cryptography works. So
It'd be
really
great.
my heart wants to build resources so that we can be equipped to explain to people like why Bitcoin's a big deal, why they need to make sure they're in self-custody, why they should do these things to not get played, and to set up generational wealth for their families, right? Because
Absolutely.
we're all about legacy here. We're tired of we're tired of some people being more equal than others. The whole
Yeah.
Animal Farm, everyone's equal, but some are more equal. It's like, well, can we just play by the same rules and instead, may the best man win? Can we do that instead?
And
So anyways,
and we want you to understand that because the banks failing isn't the bad guys failing necessarily. The
Right.
problem is so many good guys have their savings in these banks. So they're saving the big behemoths. But how about these small businesses or businesses that aren't in these global banks? They have all their savings because they're a community bank. They're a community, let's say, I don't know,
even
uh,
credit unions, yeah.
North
Mhm.
Alabama or Texas or Idaho. There's credit unions, there's these smaller banks where businesses and the banks following the rules issued to them by the Fed
Right.
of creating debt and all that shit and supposed to back it up. But now we're seeing these preferential decisions. But what does that mean to you? So if you're working for a specific bread company that has all their savings, the bread company's making a shit ton of money, but their savings are inside that bank that just failed. Is that business healthy anymore? No, it can't even get to its hard-earned money to pay its employees or pay its suppliers or pay or buy more seed or flour, to generate. That's the difference between a bank based on debt and credit versus Bitcoin, where if they had stored Bitcoin, they'd be having a run up while the banks are failing right now. They'd be running up in value, and they just trade the amount of Bitcoin they need to buy their supplies, and it's secured.
Mhm.
We in the States have never lived well in the 70s, early 70s. We lived through
No
a
one should have
inflationary.
to is the point, right?
Yes, and that's the beauty of Bitcoin. So, guys, huddle on and stay calm.
As a note, first off, for really big companies getting behind user adoption, and I'm actually this one surprised me. Okay, like you're probably gonna be surprised just as much as I was. Check this: Microsoft, of all companies, is working on a new Ethereum wallet amid a foray into crypto and NFTs. Now, this whole Microsoft and ETH thing doesn't freak me out because Microsoft does have Ethereum, infrastructure inside of Microsoft's Azure cloud platform. But it's sweet that they're actually building a self-custody wallet built into the default Windows browser, which, mind you, Edge was remade. Edge, they took the Google Chrome open source Chromium, and then they built they built Edge on top of that. So I'm not saying you should give up Brave because I love Brave too much, but I am
I
saying
use
this is
Brave.
interesting as far as like the general adoption. And keep in mind, Brave has this wallet built in too, but it looks like Microsoft's not sleeping on the job.
They're catching up.
So tech titan Microsoft is reportedly working on a new feature that enables users to send and receive crypto assets through its default web browser. And that's the key here. More and more people are going to use crypto when it's not a heavy lift to go out and get the tools and use it. When it's just like under the hood, and it's just in front of them. That's where more and more people get comfy doing the right thing. So, first reported by the Bleeping Computer software documenter Albacore, shared screenshots of a new Ethereum wallet that Microsoft is planning to integrate into its Edge browser. Newest in the gauntlet of questionable upcoming Microsoft Edge features. People smoke Edge all the time for stuff. A crypto wallet. Not really sure how to feel about this kind of thing being baked into the default browser, and that's non-crypto people getting FUD. There really are some people, and you'll run into them who they think just because Bitcoin was used on the Silk Road, for people basically buying drugs and weapons,
Just like cash.
and all this other black web stuff, cash was also used the same way. So people got to pump the brakes on saying Bitcoin's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Just because it was used as like an easier way to wire transfer, basically,
Right.
says nothing of Bitcoin being good or bad. It's just a
It
tool.
just shows it works.
It's just a tool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, whenever people blow this smoke, just blow it right back. Be like, yeah, do you have cash money in your pocket? Well, shut the hell up. Gotcha.
And in this case, those guys that don't understand is because they don't understand the blockchain technology that came out of
Yeah.
Bitcoin and Ethereum. You will need a wallet that is native to the browser so you can
Mhm.
sign transactions, we're not talking about scammy trading, nothing. No, we're
No,
talking about
Paying your
transactions.
mortgage kind of thing.
Correct. So this is building towards the future because it is ownership. And
Mhm.
this mechanism, even though they say it's questionable, is truly the keys. It's giving you the ignition keys so you can actually sign your transaction. So
Yeah.
yeah, they don't know.
And there's a ton of states too that are letting you literally pay your taxes
Yep.
in crypto too. So like
Yep.
just anyone who thinks it's only nefarious is not paying attention. And that's okay. The onboarding page or pages indicate that Microsoft's rolling out a non-custodial. Hear that?
Yep.
Non-custodial. You hold your private keys. Crypto wallet that gives users exclusive control of their assets and private keys. So like what's
That's sick.
exciting to me is even a company like Microsoft kind of gets it.
Yes.
That's encouraging to me, honestly. This
Same
is a
here.
non-custodial wallet, meaning you are in complete control of your funds. We will not have access to your password and recovery key, which means we don't support you either. Gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
Call support. I can't get into my Bitcoin wallet. They're like,
Yeah.
that sucks. Click. Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. It's embedded in Edge, making it easy to use without installing any extension. So that's dope. And here's what it looks like, right? Like it's just a little wallet up in the top corner here. Brave has the exact same thing, by the way.
Yeah.
You enter your password that becomes like your seed words basically. And you can use Coinbase or MoonPay in order to directly in the application add funds, DCA and whatnot, directly into your self-custody wallet, which is lit. And then you can also this doesn't let you sell it on here yet, but
No, you
that's
can only
okay.
send it. If they sell it, Brandon, now they need a
Well,
license.
Not if
money
they integrate into like a broker that's doing it.
That's right.
'Cause- Yeah, which Coinbase can do. You can just
Yes.
that's an API call for Coinbase, and I'm guessing MoonPay as well.
Yep.
So anyways, I won't linger too long on this article, but just be encouraged that even big
Adoption.
giants like Microsoft are not sleeping at the wheel. They're recognizing that like this is going to happen. They might as well pull trigger on it. So
Yep.
yeah,
Adoption is here, guys.
so that's hype. You should all be encouraged by that. You better stack your sats, So um this is funny. People are speculating on, specifically because the banks, 186 banks are found to have similar vulnerabilities as Silicon Valley Bank.
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal reports. So like this
And
isn't the last of the bank bleeds, I'm telling you.
And what's sad, guys, is that these banks were literally there's some that weren't doing good, but the banks were just following the instructions they've been given.
Yeah.
And yet the smallest are going to be rugged. And meanwhile, the big boys of banking of the globe are running to each other's aid. And without saying so, we're back to quantitative easing because all of a sudden the Fed is opening up all this cash. They're saying taxpayers aren't going to be paying for this. Well, I don't know where the fuck that's coming from. So they can gain liquidity. So over $1 trillion. So guys, it's just
Yeah.
we pumping.
And this was tweeted out earlier this week. The U.S. Federal Reserve just printed $300 billion out of thin air last week. So that's what the USD's inflation looks like, right? To bail out the banks, 300 billion. So your money and its buying power is not going to be felt immediately, but you will feel it at some point. So, Bitcoin's pump is in reaction to this type of thing where they're like, dude, I can't keep my money in cash. Get the hell out of here. I'm going to throw it into Bitcoin because at very least it's not going to keep, inflating $300 billion out of nowhere without a vote. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. And that's a huge question too. Why in the United States, why isn't the Federal Reserve increasing supply something that the U.S. citizens vote on?
Yeah.
Is that a fair question? Like this is
No.
how we feed our kids. This is how we take care of our like spouses. This is how we like interact with our communities. Is there a reason why we don't get a vote on that? So instead of waiting for the government to give you a vote on it, we should just opt out. My whole view on Bitcoin, by the way, and the US dollar is I don't intend to stop using the US dollar. I just intend to hold my money in Bitcoin and just to simply convert it into USD if they want to be paid in shitcoin, right?
Yeah.
If they want to be paid in that, I'll just roll it at that time, pay them with their poo-poo coin and keep her moving. Keep her
Yep.
moving, bud, you know?
Yeah. Even Binance declared that they were moving out of BUSD
Yeah.
and just going to Bitcoin and other stuff. So it's like they're moving out of the shitcoin fiat.
Yeah, and this is what you were saying here.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Speaking
Oops.
of, Binance CEO CZ announced on Monday the company had converted $1 billion of BUSD into Bitcoin. So like even smarty pants like CZ are doing the same thing.
Yep.
BNB and ETH. So he's diversified a little bit into Bitcoin, ETH, and BNB.
Yep.
CZ noted that significant on-chain movements would be noticeable following the announcement. So
Yep. So he declared it before he started moves, so people wouldn't start like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what the fuck?"
right, exactly.
Transparency wins the game here.
Yeah, and so here's a chart that's being examined too. Basically looking at what the key levels are. This is basically mirroring Jaime's, charting as well. We see right around 19.5. There
Mhm.
really is like a wick level that we probably aren't going to support very well. Like we don't have a ton of precedents
Yeah.
right at that level. So
But we will. Well, where we're at is that 28,000. Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah.
Yet their lines were lower.
Yeah.
As you guys recall, the line I have is based on those months worth of price action. So that's where we may get a wick. The big question is, will it remain a candle or a wick? A wick is a ghost. The body of the candle is what matters. If the body
Right.
stays above that, we good. Otherwise, we should see a healthy pullback. Doesn't mean things failed. It just has to regain fuel and energy to continue its move.
Yep, exactly. And keeping on topic about like people speculating on price and whatnot. This former Coinbase CTO is he's a yeet, dude. He's sending it. Send it. Former CTO of Coinbase makes a $2 million bet on Bitcoin's performance. So he predicted that Bitcoin will reach $1 million within 90 days. Okay, bud. Due to hyperinflation. So I think what he was doing here is trying to drum up a Bitcoin move where he'll certainly make, his $2 million simply on people yeeting the price. So I think that's what this is about. But it's certainly funny to read. Former Coinbase CTO made a millionaire bet on Bitcoin over the next 90 days, predicting the cryptocurrency will reach $1 million by June 17th. We'll see if it does. High five, DCA.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. The wager was initiated on March 17th with pseudo-anonymous Twitter user James Medlock offered to bet anyone $1 million that the U.S. would not experience hyperinflation. A few hours later, the former Coinbase executive accepted the bet. Sir, I believe we have ourselves a deal. Which is hilarious. Seeing guys with FU money play is always fun to watch. Under the proposed terms, if Bitcoin price fails to reach $1 million by June 17th, Medlock will win $1 million worth of dollar pegged, nice, stablecoin USD and 1 BTC. In the same way, if Bitcoin is worth at least $1 million by the date, then the Coinbase CTO can keep the 1 Bitcoin and the $1 million in USDC. You buy 1 BTC, I will send $1 million. This is a 40-1 odds as 1 BTC is worth 26K. The term is 90 days.
Nice marketing ploy.
Yeah, that's what I see this as too. But either way, this is super funny. If you had that kind of money, would you make these kinds of bets? I don't know, man. Let us know in the comments because I read this and it made me laugh.
Damn. Yeah. There's no way. I mean, it has to be Armageddon, financial Armageddon, for this to occur by June 17th.
Or someone fat fingers on the exchanges again.
The very guy that made the bet.
I know. Yeah, it's exactly that way. You know how a lot of countries are experiencing really terrible inflation? Well,
Yeah.
Argentina's inflation rate is now over 100%.
We mentioned that. Yes.
Yeah. So Bitcoin is up 83% year to date against the peso as the currency devalues on a weekly basis. Argentina's annual inflation rate surpasses 100% in February, marking a 30-year high since the nation's hyperinflation period of 1991.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Bitcoin has appreciated against the Argentine peso by 20% over the past year, despite posting a 34% drop against the US dollar over the same period. Government data released on Tuesday showed a consumer price index increase of 6.6% across the month alone, alongside a 13.1 year-to-date rise. The rapid debasement of the nation's currency can be felt in real time by its citizens. A 74-year-old told The Guardian that her community is struggling to afford anything as they endure surging costs that rise weekly. Like, this is heartbreaking and avoidable. That's why we're constantly telling people about Bitcoin and its value proposition. If we want to avoid violent uprisings of currencies crashing, we can do this peacefully. We really can. We can have a peaceful revolution. All we have to do is have people start using self-custody, start holding their funds in cryptocurrencies, specifically Bitcoin. And if we did that and we just all accepted payments that way, then it wouldn't matter. These hyperinflations wouldn't matter because we weren't holding our funds there. Our assets wouldn't be handled there. We have to start moving towards adoption so that we can avoid these crises from happening.
And it's these countries that are adopting the quickest, guys, because Bitcoin, from their perspective, has held its value. Just Google reports from Argentina and people getting into Bitcoin, or people in Venezuela and getting into Bitcoin. El Salvador. You know that Bukele, the president of El Salvador, has a 91% popularity rating in the country right now because of the decisions he's made.
They're ballsy. Bitcoin. They are ballsy decisions. 1 Bitcoin per day, just no matter what the cost, he buys it.
But if you understand why someone would take those risks, is because you have not lived in in hyperinflationary environment. They have. They know what it does to, like that quote there. The other day I came and asked for 3 tangerines, 2 oranges, 2 bananas, and a half a kilo of tomatoes. When he told me it cost 650 pesos, which is like $3.22 our money, you're like, that's cheap. Yeah, but remember, they get paid in pesos. I told them to take everything out and leave just the tomatoes because I don't have enough money. So it's not a joke, guys, especially in the States. We haven't seen this since the 70s. And even then, it was not at the levels everyone else is living or other countries are living.
Right.
Imagine now when the US dollar starts seeing that inflation. Now we're worried at our going to Walmart or whatever store, Kroger, wherever, and we see prices of those goods. Just understand that in other countries, it's way worse because they just did that conversion for you, $3.22. But what if it goes to $6.22 our money? That means that to them, it's 1,300 pesos. Like, it's unsustainable.
And they've lived in those conditions for a while now. This isn't a flash in the pan. So, like Bitcoin's solving a real problem here. And Gundy's commenting on the last thing. Yeah, 1 million might be 1,000 soon enough. And when 500,000 USD note.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. So I want everyone to look soberly. This isn't just like a fun way to make money on the side. Like, this can be someone's lifeline. And so like one of the main reasons that got me, full bore into crypto, Bitcoin specifically, is like Bitcoin is the most moral form of money. So like, for me as a practicing Christian, like love your neighbor is really serious to me. And having a form of money that has no deception in it, you don't have to trust the person. You can't steal from them. It's clear cut, right? Like that really attracted me to it. That like, hey, I can really take care of people here. I can make sure that even if someone's not trustworthy, I can still do business with them, and they can't screw me over, and I can't screw them over. We're square, right?
Yep.
Like that's a world I want to live in. That's a world I want to promote. So,
Yep.
yeah. So,
That's awesome.
Argentina had one of the top 10 highest inflation rates in the world in 2022, and has nearly doubled from last March. At last March, it was 55%. So, the region has also has a relatively high crypto adoption rate, ranking 13th in Chainalysis' 2022 Crypto Adoption Index, despite the nation's banking clampdown on crypto-related services. So even despite there being like clampdown, people were still getting into it. They're like, I don't care if it's illegal or not. What do you need to throw me in jail and give me free
Yep.
food? Like, screw you, man. I'm starving out here.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna do what's necessary.
If
So
you look it up, you'll see a lot of stories of that.
And Nigeria and Turkey led Argentina in that same index, countries that also face troublesome inflation that only serves to boost crypto adoption. Due to its fixed supply, Bitcoin bulls often regard the asset as a long-term inflation hedge. And I would even argue that Bitcoin, not just being non-inflationary, I would actually say it's in practice deflationary. And what I mean by that is like some people are going to lose their keys because they don't know how to properly manage self-custody, and those funds will never be in circulation again. So if you hold funds that are, let's just use an example, 1/10 of the pie, and another 10th of the pie disappears, your 10th of the pie is a bigger slice, because now there's only 9 slices in the total pie. So you're one of 9 now, not one of 10. So just keep that in mind, that like good self-custody practices and hodling long-term will put you in a position that you'll look back and say, man, I'm glad I listened. I'm glad I was principled in how I invested, right?
It's a
So,
hedge, guys. It's a
yeah.
hedge against the system.
And we can avoid, every country that's not experiencing this, we can avoid this from happening. We can avoid this sort of hellscape from happening where people are working as hard as they've ever worked, but they're not able to even keep, practical standard of living for their family. We can avoid that from happening by simply being principled. One, being engaged in the political process, making sure that our senators and Congress people know what our positions are, that we are pro crypto. We can't keep making conditions worse in our country, so people have to move crypto companies to other countries that aren't doing that. And then the other piece is we have to make sure that we are actually starting to buy and sell in crypto. So if you're selling things at a garage sale or selling things to friends, selling a car, that type of thing, you might want to seriously start considering offering crypto as a form of payment, just to start getting people used to that. Because if we make it normal, just like how people use Venmo or PayPal, like, yo man, you got Cash App, people always say that whenever you're on Facebook Marketplace or something. If you're like, yo man, you take Bitcoin, yo man, you take Ethereum, whatever, then that now becomes like a no-brainer way of trading money. There's no middleman. There's no necessary reporting to agencies that don't need to hear about it. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
Yep.
Elon Musk has been flaming Jim Cramer, and it's hilarious.
Jeez.
So Elon Musk mocks Jim Cramer's market advice. Twitter boss scoffed Mad Money host, saying the force is strong with inverse Cramer.
Do the opposite, bro.
Yeah. So it's Twitter's owner and one of the wealthiest people on the planet. You know him, you love him, or you don't. Elon Musk dropped a sarcastic tweet regarding Jim Cramer's recent market predictions. Host of CNBC's financial TV show Mad Money has given guidance to investors numerous times, but often that advice has turned wrong. Yeah. That's an understatement.
Bro.
Yeah, this dude easily, he'll be
the
like,
moment he talks
Bitcoin to the moon, you're like, sell.
Bro, if I ever owned a company and he recommends my company, I'm selling. I'm selling.
Like, why are you selling? The numbers look great. You're like, good deal for you, right?
Inverse Kramer, bro.
Yeah, a few days ago, he argued that people should use the recent crypto price rally as an opportunity to sell their stash. However, the market kept its uptrend, with Bitcoin tapping a new 9-month high at 27K, and today, well, it's back to 27K. It touched 28 though. Inverse Kramer ETF seems to be working. So in a recent Twitter post, the co-creator of the meme coin Dogecoin, Billy Marcus, better known as Shibatoshi Nakamoto, said Kramer is good at his job. His comments started a debate, and one of the people to join was Elon Musk, the South American entrepreneur.
South
I'm
Africa.
sorry. I can't look straight at letters. South African entrepreneur ironically supports the inverse Kramer strategy, a plan that helps investors bet against the stock picks of Mad Money's hosts. And yeah, Jim Cramer's good at his job. The force is strong with inverse Kramer's. Smoked. You don't want this smoke, boy.
That's awesome, man.
The inverse Kramer tracker, which is SGM, by the way, we covered this when it first launched, was designed to perform in the opposite direction of TV personalities' advice.
Bro,
how would that be? Like waking up in the morning, looking in the mirror, and being like, people literally throw millions of dollars against things I say. Matthew Tuttle, CEO of Tuttle Capital Management, explains in detail. If he specifically says either buy a stock, then we're going to go short that stock at the next practical moment. If he tells you he hates a stock or sell or something like that, then we're going to go long that name again at the next kind of practical entry point. Some cryptocurrency participants have recently claimed that betting against Kramer could be an appropriate investment strategy, since his predictions on the future performance of digital currencies such as Bitcoin have not been quite precise. Examples of his failures. So we're gonna smoke him. This is a roast. Kramer suggested at the beginning of 2022 that the correction of Bitcoin and Ether could be over, hinting at the start of cryptocurrency bull. However, last year was devastating for the industry and saw the demise of several giants, including FTX, Celsius Network, Three Arrows Capital, and more. The negative events, the broad macroeconomic crisis, and other factors had an adverse effect on most digital assets, with BTC plunging by 65%. The American, who was once a proponent of cryptocurrencies, advised investors to sell their awful positions back in December 2022. You just can't beat yourself up, he says. Hey, it's too late to sell. The truth is never too late to sell an awful position. I don't know if that's always true. And that's what you have if you own these so-called digital assets. So he's crapping on Bitcoin, which means he's ignorant, right? He doesn't get it. Back then, Bitcoin was hovering around 17K, while currently it sits above 26K mark. First off, if you know something is that low, why would you be like, yeah, sell low, buy high? You know, like that's bad advice.
You're selling the bottom. You're telling him to sell the bottom, really.
That's so dumb. Over a 50% increase. It's worth noting that Kramer told investors to buy Silicon Valley Bank shares at the beginning of February this year.
And Recall 2 weeks
the
later,
financial institution revealed operational difficulties, prompting regulators to close it down a month after that advice. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments. Do you think Jim Cramer does insider trading and basically gets paid to be a mark to, have certain people stack their bags and then he goes and says something? Do you think that's going on?
He is too consistent. Like, he is amazingly consistent on his ill advice. Like, if you inverse it, bro, that I can't believe he's the one doing the analysis and research.
Yeah, right.
I would not be surprised that he is a paid voice.
He's a crony. I feel like he is, man.
Because what a coincidence that, okay, a month later, all this collapses. But between that month, 15 days, on the 15-day mark, the CEO and the CFO sold millions of dollars worth of shares. So it's almost like, bro, we'll pay you this much, recommend signature, so we can sell into the crowd or into the people that watch the show. And
it's got to be that way, dude. It literally has to be a phone call. It's like, hey, Jim, you want to make some money? He's like, hell yeah, what are we doing? He's like, tell everybody Silicon Valley Bank is solid. You're like, okay, so buy a bunch of it? No, sell it, dumbass.
Let me handle it for you, Jimmy.
It's got to be something like that. What's up? Good morning to you, Tamp.
Good morning, Tamp.
One and only. She's commenting about me not being able to read anything. She can't either. That's all right.
Yeah, it's rigged. I mean, every time he advises to buy or sell, just watch the market and it does precisely the inverse. Or it will head in that direction, but people sell into it or buy
Yeah.
into the scare that he does.
Can we get an investigation on this cat, please? Or is he part of the club, right?
Well, he's got an
So
ETF now, so
yeah, I know. So, anyways, Jim Cramer, what a guy. So, Silicon Valley Bank parent firm files for bankruptcy protections. Though Silicon Valley Bank has failed, SVB Securities and Capital still operate. Get the heck out of here. No, thanks. SVB Financial Group, the parent company of Silicon Valley Bank, has filed for bankruptcy protections, according to a press release from the company on March 17th. SVB files for reorganization. The announcement indicates the SVB Financial Group has voluntarily filed for a court-organized reorganization under Chapter 11 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code. The filing has been submitted in the Southern District of New York. New York. SVB Financial Group said that the legal process will allow it to explore strategic alternatives as determined by a board appointed restructuring team made up of 5 members. It noted that its strategic alternatives process is already in progress and added that any sale that is arranged will need to be approved in court before it's executed. The bankruptcy case aims to preserve a company's value. The company believes it has $2.2 billion of liquidity, $3.3 billion of debt in aggregate principal amount of unsecured notes, Clowntown, and $3.7 billion of outstanding preferred equity. Joel Frank, a company known for its involvement in shareholder activism claims, is involved in the case. Though Silicon Valley Bank has failed, SVB's other services like SVB Capital, SVB Securities will continue to provide services. SVB Financial Group is no longer associated with the failed Silicon Valley Bank, according to press release. So before we go on anymore, Jaime, what's your feel on this? Like, is this company's just having a good structure so they can basically have one part of the company that they can do some rotten things with and then have the rest of them still act like
So
nothing happened?
remember that they were opposing you have to dump all of your
Yeah.
crypto business for you to be salvaged. So it's just a strategic way to route out anything to do with crypto and then salvage what was remaining. But I think once the court cases come through with all these banks that have failed, and what a coincidence that we're all dabbling or in crypto. All
Right.
these the beginning. Now you have the bigger behemoths that had fun in these smaller banks dropping like flies. So it's almost like they tried to crack the log right here and it split the log instead of just cracking it. So now they're trying to salvage all this, but you can see their intent because they're actually saying you have to get rid of the business aspect, the crypto aspect of it, give it up for you to be salvaged.
Yeah.
So they're trying to fix things, you can tell, but how do you fix something that's already built on debt? You know,
Well, yeah, the way you do it is you pretend like that's not the case and you tell everyone everything's okay. The boat does not have a hole in it. I have a bucket. It's fine. It's like, no, the boat does have a hole in it and you're just using a bucket to move the water out and hope that you can keep up.
yes. And then you have Treasury saying, we got the funds. Don't worry, guys. We got the funds. But it's like,
Yeah.
okay, where'd these funds come from?
Stay Safu. You're like,
Yeah,
what?
it's like, oh, you can mint these coins? Why are you
You're
giving
right.
all these stable coins a hard time when you can just mint it anytime? You know?
It's that. Yeah. Customers will receive funds elsewhere. Silicon Valley Bank halted operations on March 10th as U.S. regulators closed the bank and took control of customer assets. The collapse occurred shortly after the company announced plans to over $2 billion of funds, leading to a weekend bank run. Circle and BlockFi were among the cryptocurrency companies affected by the bank's failure. We covered that live. While bankruptcy protections will help the company continue ordinary operations and potentially lead to a recovery, customers will regain access to their funds elsewhere. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC, FDIC, I think that's always hilarious to say, will provide customers with the insured portion of their funds. Meanwhile, in an emergency plan from the Joe Biden administration, always Biden their time, and the U.S. Treasury will provide customers with all other eligible funds.
So literally 250,000 is FDIC, and then the rest
Right.
of it's the U.S. Treasury. And what a coincidence! They're launching the Fed Pay
Mhm.
by July, so it seems CBDCs are coming, guys. So everyone
Yeah.
thinks this is most people don't know what's coming. So we'll keep you abreast as we go.
Yep. Kinky. Anyways, world. Don't keep me abreast. World's largest asset manager, BlackRock, is exploring tokenization of stocks. So speaking of CBDCs and tokenization of things, BlackRock just love to show you what they got, and what they
Yes.
got is not something you want inside you. So in an annual letter to investors published on March 17th, Larry Fink, the chairman and CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, I love that. His last name is Fink. The chairman and CEO of BlackRock, the world's largest asset management company, highlighted the exciting developments happening in the digital asset space. He noted that while Bitcoin has captured much of the media's attention over the past year, there are interesting developments happening beyond the headlines. According to Mr. Fink, he sounds like a Bond villain. Excuse me, Mr. Fink, please come into my lair. In many emerging markets such as India, Brazil, and parts of Africa, there are dramatic advances in digital payments, which are bringing down costs, advancing financial inclusion. However, BlackRock CEO suggested that in the US, there's a lag in innovation, resulting in higher costs of payments. This lag of innovation is subsidized. The government is literally subsidizing us to have a lack of innovation. They're pushing, with bad policy, they're pushing crypto companies overseas. They're squelching
Development here, like
it's
in-house
bad.
development.
It's a
Yeah.
problem. In many emerging markets like India, Brazil, and parts of Africa, we are witnessing dramatic advances in digital payments, bringing down costs and advancing financial inclusion. By contrast, many developing markets or developed markets like the US are lagging behind in innovation, leaving the cost of payments much higher. We have to fix this. And not so that these countries don't do well, but so that we all do well.
Right.
And explores the tokenization of asset classes. The chairman also highlights the potential of tokenization of asset classes that could drive efficiencies in capital markets, shorten value chains, and improve costs and access for investors. Mr. Fink noted that tokenization of the assets can help revolutionize the asset management industry, offering exciting applications for the underlying technologies in digital asset space. He also said BlackRock is actively exploring the tokenization of stocks. So, Jaime, my question is, if stocks get tokenized, like we have ERC20 tokens, for example, for stocks, that means the stock market's 24/7. Like that could
Yes.
mean that there isn't a close and an open on stocks anymore.
Correct. And all they're doing is NFT. This is an NFT. You're buying a representation of that stock. So
Which I think is a
yeah,
good idea. That's actually better than
it's
we're
an
currently
instant.
doing.
It's an instant settlement.
The current system, the stock market runs on Unix still. Did you know that? They run on a Unix mainframe.
It's
Even
crazy.
still today.
Yeah. So you can see BlackRock they understand. Come on, guys. They're actually building out the direct access for spot Bitcoin for the United States. They're going to be one of the first ones accepted. And they're looking to do the green Bitcoin, meaning not minted by carbon, all that BS. So they're leading all these efforts.
Yep.
Bitcoin is real, guys. And so is the technology, blockchain. They just don't explicitly mention it, but this is what they're doing. They're
They know it
tokenizing.
though, and they're building it. And
Yes.
we'll flash right by this because we're nearly at the end of the show's time. But just in the theme of, look how many big companies, look how many big organizations are low key pro Bitcoin. Okay,
Yes.
Goldman Sachs highlights Bitcoin as the best performing asset.
Yep.
You hear that, Goldman Sachs? So Bitcoin has outpaced traditional investments such as technology, gold in year to date, absolute returns, and risk adjusted performance, according to recent data from Goldman Sachs. The leading cryptocurrency has gained 51% in year to date absolute returns. surpassing information technology by 16%.
Yep.
So if you were just in tech stocks, 16%, you'd have 16% less than if you were just in Bitcoin. Communication services 15%, consumer discretionary 11%, Russell 1000 growth 10%, gold 4%, and Standard & Poor's 4%. So
Mhm.
here's what you need to hear from this. Bitcoin is going to the moon, but it's not going to happen immediately. It's going to happen
never
up and
straight
down,
up,
up and down, up
never
and down,
straight
up and
down,
down.
yes.
So keep calm, keep doing your DCA, do your trading according to the best information you have available, but do long trades. Like do these like big picture trades. Don't do these day trades unless
Yeah.
you're
Unless you know
really
what you're
have an
doing.
appetite for risk.
Correct. You got to know what you're doing, guys.
Yeah.
I
So
learned that the hard way.
yeah, man. And Gundy saying stinky stonks, and that's
Hey,
true. They
they're
are.
even tokenizing them thanks
Yeah.
to blockchain technology.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us here
Thank you, guys.
Monday on Decentralized TV, Crypto and Coffee.
We do
Till
this for
next
you
time.
guys always.
It's true. It's true. We do this because we love you. Until next time, I'm the Data Lord. This is Jaime. Keep calm and huddle on.
Huddle on. Have a good
Also,
one.
I need a cool outro. But I think if I did a cool outro, then I would stop doing awkward things
Yeah.
at the
So I
end of
gotta
videos.
look at you. What are you doing, bro? Bro, can you stop this?
Yeah.
Tell me when it's over.
It's not
Can we do
over
it
yet.
now?
It's not over yet, Jaime.
It's too awkward,
Come on.
bro.
High five me. High five me. Let's go.
I don't know.